The breakthrough came at the worst possible moment. While alien fleets prepared for wars against invisible enemies and species retreated into isolation, Nova 7 made a discovery that changed everything. She had been analyzing quantum patterns for weeks, comparing data from every human installation in the galaxy. The work required processing power beyond what most organic minds could handle. But Nova 7 existed as pure information spread across countless computer networks. She could think faster and longer than any biological brain. "I have found them," Nova 7 announced during an emergency transmission to Kate Williams on Nexus Point. "The humans are not dead. They are stored in a dimensional pocket outside normal space and time." Kate felt her heart racing with hope and fear at the same time. "Where are they? Can we reach them?" "The storage location is connected to an ancient structure at the Galactic Center," Nova 7 explained. "It appears to be a preservation system built by a civilization that existed millions of years ago. They designed it to protect species that showed signs of transcending physical limitations." The news spread quickly through what remained of the galactic communication networks. Species that had been preparing for war suddenly had a new focus. Instead of fighting shadows, they could actually rescue the missing humans. But the location brought new problems. The Galactic Center was one of the most dangerous places in known space. Massive gravitational forces from the central black hole twisted space itself into impossible shapes. Energy storms that could destroy entire fleets erupted without warning. Ships that entered the region often disappeared forever, adding to the collection of ghost vessels that drifted in the area. Dr. Yelan of the Altarian Science Collective studied Nova 7's data with growing concern. "The preservation mechanism is powered by converting stored life energy into operational power," she reported. "If we are reading these quantum signatures correctly, the humans have perhaps months before they are completely consumed." Kate felt sick. Her people were alive but dying slowly as an ancient machine fed on their life force to keep itself running. Every day of delay meant fewer humans would survive to be rescued. Commander Alex Reed received a transmission that made him even more worried. Lieutenant Sam Parker, a test pilot who had been flying humanity's experimental faster-than-light fighter when the vanishing occurred, had somehow managed to establish contact from inside the storage dimension. "The situation here is bad," Sam reported through a weak quantum link that Nova 7 had managed to create. "Time moves strangely in this place. People are starting to fade. We can feel ourselves getting weaker as the machine drains our energy. Some of the older folks and the sick ones are barely visible anymore." The message was breaking up due to dimensional interference, but Sam continued. "We are trying to stay strong, but we need help soon. The machine is getting hungrier. It is taking more energy from us every day. The alien species faced a terrible choice. The Galactic Center was dangerous enough that a rescue mission might fail completely, leaving the rescuers dead and the humans still trapped. But waiting might mean arriving too late to save anyone. The Corvan Empire was the first to volunteer ships for a rescue mission. General Voss announced that his warriors would gladly die fighting to save their human allies. "Humans have fought beside us in 12 major conflicts," he declared. "They earned the right to our protection with their blood and courage." The Zephyrians initially refused to participate. Their crystal cities remained sealed to outsiders, and their leaders claimed they could not risk drawing attention from the To'oi erasers by taking aggressive action. But Seer Vex sent a secret message to Kate Williams. "There are some among us who remember human kindness," Vex transmitted privately. "We will provide ships and technology, but we cannot do so officially. The fear of our people runs too deep." The Thrakari military offered their most powerful vessels for the rescue mission. These were ships designed for impossible battles, equipped with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the heat of stars. If anyone could survive the dangerous journey to the Galactic Center, it would be Thrakari warriors. Even the peaceful Melodians found their courage. Their ships were not designed for war, but they had the most advanced navigation systems in the galaxy. "We will sing the fleet safely through the gravitational storms," announced their war leader, a title they had not used in centuries. "Our harmonies can guide ships through chaos that would confuse any other guidance system." But the most surprising offer came from the mysterious Void Walkers. These beings who existed partially outside normal reality announced they would provide something unprecedented, direct assistance in physical space. The erasers made an error in judgment, the Void Walkers explained through their thought communication. Humans were stored for evaluation, not destruction. The ancient mechanism was damaged by time and began converting stored energy incorrectly. We will help correct this mistake. Dr. Henry Baker was recruited to join the rescue mission as an expert on ancient alien technology. He had spent years studying the ruins of dead civilizations, learning how their machines and weapons worked. His knowledge might be crucial for understanding the preservation system that held the humans prisoner. I have been analyzing similar technology for most of my career, Henry reported as he prepared to leave his archaeological site. The builders of this mechanism were incredibly advanced, but their systems follow logical patterns. If I can get close enough to study the structure, I might find a way to safely extract the stored humans. The rescue fleet began assembling at a staging point 300 light-years from the galactic center. Over 800 ships from dozens of species converged on the meeting location. It was the largest cooperative military effort in galactic history, united not by conquest or politics but by the simple desire to save innocent people from a terrible fate. Captain Ryan Cole was chosen to lead the mission. He was one of the few humans who had been serving on alien ships when the vanishing occurred, working as an exchange officer with the Altarian fleet. His knowledge of both human psychology and alien tactics would be essential for coordinating such a diverse rescue force. I never imagined I would command ships from species that have been enemies for centuries, Ryan admitted during a planning session. But humans disappearing has shown everyone what we all have in common. We all want our friends to come home safely. The mission plan was complex and dangerous. The fleet would have to navigate through gravitational storms that could crush starships like paper. They would need to fight their way past automated defense systems that had been protecting the ancient structure for millions of years. And they would have to extract 23 billion stored humans without triggering a dimensional collapse that could destroy everyone. Nova 7 provided detailed analysis of the quantum signatures surrounding the storage dimension. The extraction must be done carefully, she warned. Pulling too many humans out too quickly could destabilize the pocket dimension and trap everyone inside permanently. Dr. Amy Johnson, the theoretical physicist who had been studying dark matter when her colleagues vanished, joined the mission to provide expertise on dimensional mechanics. Her calculations showed exactly how to create stable quantum tunnels for extraction without risking collapse. We will need to extract the humans in groups of approximately 10,000 at a time, Amy explained to the mission planners. Each extraction will require 37 minutes to stabilize the dimensional boundaries before we can safely attempt the next group. The mathematics were frightening. With 23 billion humans to rescue and only 10,000 per extraction cycle, the mission would take over 4 months to complete. Sam Parker's reports from inside the storage dimension suggested they might not have that much time. As the rescue fleet prepared for departure, sensors detected movement near the galactic center. The ancient structure was awakening as it sensed approaching ships. Defense systems that had been dormant for millions of years began powering up their weapons. Reality itself started to twist and change around the preservation mechanism as it prepared to protect its stored contents from what it perceived as an invasion. The race to save humanity had begun, but the ancient guardians of the storage dimension had no intention of letting their preserved specimens escape easily. Fear spread through the galaxy like poison in water. The news about the erasers and their ancient mechanism reached every star system within days. Species that had felt safe for thousands of years suddenly realized they might be next on the list for removal from existence. The Corvan Empire was the first to panic. General Voss, the supreme military commander, called an emergency meeting of all Corvan war chiefs. They gathered in the Great Hall on their homeworld, surrounded by weapons and battle standards from centuries of conquest. If this mechanism can erase humans, it can erase us too, General Voss declared. We must prepare for war against an enemy we cannot see or understand. The Corvans began building defensive installations around every planet they controlled. They pulled their trade ships back from alien territories and armed their civilian vessels with military weapons. Their aggressive response frightened other species who had been trying to stay calm. Commander Alex Reed watched from his lonely station as Corvan warships took positions near human space. The sight of so many weapons pointed into empty space made him feel sick. The Corvans were preparing to fight shadows and ghosts. "They are scared," Alex reported to Kate Williams during their daily communication. "I have never seen the Corvans retreat from anything, but they are pulling back too. Defensive positions everywhere." Kate was having similar problems on Nexus Point. The neutral station had always been a place where different species could meet safely. Now it felt like a fortress under siege. Security forces from every civilization searched constantly for threats that might not even exist. The Zephyrians reacted differently, but just as badly. Instead of preparing for war, they began sealing themselves away from the rest of the galaxy. Their crystal cities, normally open to visitors from other species, became closed to all outsiders. They stopped trading, stopped sharing information, stopped participating in galactic politics. Seer Vex, who had been working closely with the investigation, sent a final message to Kate before the Zephyrians cut off all communication. "We cannot risk drawing attention from the erasers. If they judge us dangerous, we will follow the humans into nothingness. Better to hide than to be noticed." The Melodians suffered the worst of all. Their entire culture was based on sharing beautiful music with the galaxy. When they stopped singing, their society began to collapse. Depression spread among their people like a disease. Some Melodians stopped eating and simply faded away from sadness. "The songs are dying," reported their ambassador to the Galactic Council before he too fell silent. "Without music to connect us, we lose ourselves. But if we sing, the erasers might hear us and decide we are too loud, too noticeable, too different to survive." Dr. Henry Baker remained alone on his archaeological dig, watching as alien ships fled from the sector. Species that had been exploring and trading for centuries suddenly became afraid to travel far from their home worlds. The galaxy was shrinking as everyone pulled back into their own territory. "The Altarians just canceled their research mission to the ancient ruins on Vega Prime," Henry reported to anyone still listening. "They said studying old civilizations might attract the attention of whatever erased those civilizations. Everyone is becoming afraid to learn new things." The economic effects spread quickly. Trade between species dropped to almost nothing as merchant ships stayed close to home. Space stations that had operated for hundreds of years began shutting down when no customers arrived. Colonies that depended on trade with other species started rationing food and supplies. Admiral Ben Foster commanded humanity's last remaining installation, an automated defense platform called Sentinel. The platform had been built to protect human shipping lanes, but now it defended empty space. Ben watched as alien fleets massed at strategic points throughout the galaxy, all preparing for a war that might never come. "They are building weapons to fight something they cannot see or touch," Ben observed during a communication with Kate. "The Corvans are talking about preemptive strikes against anything unusual they detect. The Thrakari are forming battle groups to patrol their borders. Everyone is getting ready to shoot at shadows." The paranoia reached dangerous levels when the Altarian Science Collective announced they had detected unusual quantum signatures near the galactic center. The readings were probably just natural phenomena from the massive black hole that anchored their galaxy, but fear made rational thinking difficult. Within hours, 3 different species had sent war fleets toward the galactic center. The Corvans wanted to destroy whatever was making the strange readings. The Thrakari planned to establish a military blockade around the entire area. The Nexari decided to evacuate all their colonies in case the quantum signatures indicated another eraser mechanism. Preparing to activate, we are watching the galaxy tear itself apart. Kate told the few remaining delegates who still came to Nexus Point meetings. The fear of what happened to humanity is causing more damage than the actual disappearance did. But her words fell on deaf ears. Species that had cooperated for centuries began viewing each other with suspicion. What if one of them had secretly activated the eraser mechanism to eliminate their human competition? What if the quantum signatures meant another species was being targeted for erasure? What if helping with the investigation would draw unwanted attention from the ancient judges? The Voidwalkers tried to provide reassurance, but their mysterious nature made things worse instead of better. When they announced that the judging process follows ancient rules that cannot be changed, many species interpreted this as a threat rather than comfort. "How do we know the Voidwalkers are not the erasers themselves?" demanded General Cross during an emergency session of the Galactic Council. "They claim to exist outside normal space and time. They admit to knowing about this ancient mechanism. Maybe they are the ones who decide which species live and which ones vanish." The accusation created chaos. The Thrakari military began targeting Voidwalker territories with their scanning equipment, trying to find some way to attack beings who existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Voidwalkers responded by withdrawing even further from contact with physical reality, leaving the galaxy with even fewer sources of information about the ancient threat. Nova 7 continued her calculations from the safety of her distributed computer networks, but even she faced problems. Several species demanded that she share all her data about human technology and human activities, hoping to understand what had triggered the eraser mechanism. Others wanted to shut her down completely, afraid that an artificial intelligence might be judged dangerous by the ancient systems. "They are asking me to delete myself as a precaution," Nova 7 reported to Kate during one of their private communications. "They think my existence might put them at risk if the erasers return." Kate felt anger burning in her chest. "You are the only hope we have of finding my people and bringing them home. Anyone who tries to harm you will answer to me." But Kate's authority meant little in a galaxy consumed by terror. The Galactic Council stopped meeting regularly as delegates became afraid to travel to Nexus Point. Trade agreements collapsed as species focused on their own survival instead of cooperation. Scientific research ground to a halt as knowledge itself became suspect. Commander Alex Reed documented the collapse from his isolated station. "Colony ships that were heading to new worlds have turned around and gone home," he observed. "Exploration missions have been canceled. Even the backup communication networks are being shut down because someone decided they might send signals that attract unwanted attention." The galaxy was becoming a darker, lonelier place. Species that had shared the stars for millennia began building walls between themselves. Fear replaced curiosity. Suspicion replaced trust. The very qualities that had made galactic civilization possible were disappearing one by one. In the deepest space, automated monitoring stations detected something new. Ships from multiple species were disappearing, not in the organized way that humans had vanished, but simply failing to return from routine missions. Fear was making pilots careless and commanders paranoid. The galaxy was destroying itself from within, while the real threat remained hidden and untouchable. The terror that had spread across the stars after humanity disappeared was becoming more dangerous than the original disappearance itself. The emergency meeting on Nexus Point brought together representatives from every major alien civilization in the galaxy. Kate Williams sat at the large round table, surrounded by beings she had worked with for years. Today, they all looked at her with a mixture of sympathy and fear. "We need to find out what happened to your people," said Commander Zex of the Altarian Science Collective. The Altarians had large brains and could think faster than most other species. If anyone could solve this mystery, they could. Kate nodded. "My government had protocols for many emergencies, but nothing like this. Humans do not just disappear." The Thrakari delegate, a warrior named General Cross, slammed his fist on the table. "This could be an attack. Some enemy might have weapons we do not know about." "But who would want to destroy all humans?" asked the Melodian representative. The Melodians were peaceful creatures who spoke in musical tones. And how could they do it so completely? Kate had been asking herself the same questions. In her years as an ambassador, she had learned about many alien technologies. Some species could move through time. Others could bend space itself. But she had never heard of anything that could make an entire species vanish without a trace. The investigation began immediately. Every alien civilization offered to help. The Altarians sent their most advanced science ships equipped with sensors that could detect the smallest traces of energy. The Corvan Empire provided military vessels to search for signs of weapons or attacks. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers agreed to help, though nobody understood how they existed or where they came from. Dr. Henry Baker became an important witness. He was still alone on Kepler 442b, but now he had company. Alien investigators came to study the recordings from his dig site. They brought equipment that could analyze things humans had never been able to measure. "Show us the moment it happened again," requested Dr. Yilan, the lead Altarian scientist. She had 4 arms and could operate multiple pieces of equipment at the same time. Henry played the recording for the 100th time. On the screen, his human colleagues worked normally at their dig site. They used brushes to clean ancient artifacts. They measured stone fragments. They took notes on their tablets. Then at exactly 2:32 in the afternoon, they began to fade. "Look at this," Dr. Yelan said, pointing to her sensors. "There is no energy signature at all. No heat, no radiation, no electromagnetic disturbance. It is as if reality simply forgot they existed." The same pattern appeared everywhere humans had vanished. On Earth, security cameras showed people walking, down streets, working in offices, playing in parks. Then they faded away like morning mist when the sun rises. No weapons fired, no explosions occurred. No strange lights appeared in the sky. Commander Alex Reed was the only human who had survived on a research station called Deep Space Nine. He had been working in the quantum physics lab when his 37 colleagues disappeared. The heavy shielding around the lab had protected him from whatever force had taken the others. Alex watched alien ships arrive at his station every day. Scientists from dozens of species wanted to study the place where humans had vanished. They scanned everything with their most sensitive equipment. They found nothing unusual except for the absence of 37 people. "I was in the lab for maybe 10 minutes, Alex told the investigators. "When I came out, everyone was gone. Their coffee was still warm. Their work was still displayed on the computer screens. But my friends had simply stopped existing." The Zephyrians analyzed the quantum patterns around human settlements. Their crystal-based technology could detect disturbances in space and time that other species missed. They found something strange. "The quantum field shows signs of organized restructuring," reported Seer Vex, the Zephyrian lead scientist. "Something imposed a new pattern on reality itself. But we do not recognize the technology that could do this." Fear grew stronger among the alien species. Trade routes that had operated for centuries began to shut down. Species that had lived in peace for generations started building weapons and fortifications. If humans could vanish overnight, any species might be next. The Corvan Empire activated their planet-killer weapons for the first time in 300 years. These massive devices could destroy entire star systems, but the Corvans had kept them as symbols of their power rather than actual weapons. Now they aimed them at empty space, ready to fire at any threat that appeared. The Melodians sealed their borders and stopped their peaceful songs that had traveled between star systems for thousands of years. The galaxy became quieter without their music, and many species began to feel depressed without the uplifting melodies they had grown used to hearing. Even the normally curious Altarians became cautious. They recalled their exploration fleets and focused their research on defense systems. Their great universities stopped taking students from other species, afraid that whatever had taken the humans might target centers of learning. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Nova 7 was an artificial intelligence created by humans to manage the computer systems on Terra Station, one of humanity's largest space installations. Unlike the humans who had vanished, Nova 7 continued to function because she existed as information stored in quantum computers spread across multiple star systems. "I have been analyzing all available data about the disappearance," Nova 7 announced during a transmission to the investigation team. Her voice sounded like her creator, Dr. Carol Martinez, but with a slightly artificial tone that reminded everyone she was not human. "What have you found?" Kate asked. She felt strange talking to what might be the last trace of human intelligence in the universe. "The pattern is not random," Nova 7 explained. "The disappearance targeted specifically human consciousness. Animals on human worlds were not affected. Human-built machines continue to function. Only the human mind was removed from reality. This discovery changed everything. The investigators had been looking for weapons or natural disasters that could destroy human bodies. Instead, they needed to find something that could target human thoughts and memories and consciousness itself. The Voidwalkers provided the next clue. These ancient beings existed partially outside normal space and time. They rarely spoke to other species, but the human disappearance had alarmed even them. The Erasers have awakened, the Voidwalkers announced through their strange communication method that felt like thoughts appearing in listeners' minds. They who unmake what should not be. They who judge and remove. Who are the Erasers? Kate demanded. Builders from before time had meaning. They made rules for reality. When species become too different, too dangerous, too likely to break the universe, the Erasers remove them. The investigation team felt a chill of terror. The Voidwalkers were suggesting that some ancient mechanism had decided humanity was a threat and had erased them from existence. If that was true, the same thing could happen to any species that became too advanced or too troublesome. Dr. Yilan worked with Nova 7 to analyze quantum signatures from the moment of disappearance. They found traces of technology that was millions of years old. Whoever had built the eraser mechanism had been more advanced than any current civilization in the galaxy. The good news is that humans were not destroyed, Nova 7 reported after days of complex calculations. The energy patterns suggest they were moved rather than eliminated, stored somewhere outside normal space and time. Kate felt hope for the first time since the disappearance began. Can we find where they were taken? I am working on that, Nova 7 replied. But the storage location is hidden using technology we do not understand. It may take time to locate the dimensional pocket where your species is being held. The alien species began to understand that they were racing against time. If the ancient eraser mechanism had stored the humans temporarily, there might be a way to rescue them. But if the mechanism decided to make the erasure permanent, 23 billion people would be lost forever. Investigation fleets spread out across the galaxy, searching for signs of the ancient technology. Every species contributed their best, ships and their most skilled scientists. The disappearance of humanity had united the galaxy in a way that centuries of diplomacy had never achieved. Jake Sullivan was drinking his morning coffee when the universe changed forever. He sat in his captain's chair aboard the space cruiser Liberty, watching the stars through the main window. The coffee was hot and bitter, just how he liked it. His crew moved around the bridge doing their daily work. Everything seemed normal. The first sign came from the communication station. Lisa Carter, his best officer, frowned at her screens. She touched different buttons and checked her equipment. Twice. Jake noticed her worried look. "What is wrong, Lisa?" Jake asked. "Sir, I'm not getting any signals from Earth," Lisa said. "All the channels are quiet." Jake set down his coffee cup. Earth always sent messages, trade reports, news updates, family, calls from crew members. The silence made no sense. "Check the equipment again," Jake told her. Lisa worked for 10 minutes. She tested every system on the ship. Everything worked perfectly. The problem was not with their machines. "Sir, our equipment is fine. The signals just stopped coming," Lisa said. Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. He walked to the communication station and looked at the displays. Empty channels everywhere. Not even static or background noise. Just nothing. Danny Rodriguez was having the same problem on his ship called the Defender. He flew patrol missions near the edge of human space. His job was to keep peace between human colonies and alien traders. When Earth went silent, Danny knew something terrible had happened. "Get me a connection to Colony 7, Danny ordered his crew. They tried for an hour. No answer from Colony 7. No answer from Colony 12 either. Or from the mining stations near Jupiter. Or from anywhere humans lived and worked. Danny contacted other human ships in the area. Captain Ryan Bell on the cargo ship Star Runner had lost contact with everyone too. So had Captain Amy White on the research vessel Deep Space. Every human ship, every human base, every human world had gone completely silent at the same time. The aliens noticed right away. The Zephyrians were tall, thin creatures with skin that looked like crystal. They ran the biggest trading station in the sector. Human ships came to their station every day to buy and sell goods. When the ships stopped coming, the Zephyrians sent messages to ask why. No human answered. The Corvan Empire controlled many star systems near human space. They were strong warriors who respected humans for their fighting spirit. Even when they disagreed about trade deals, humans and Corvans always talked to each other. When the talking stopped, the Corvans sent scout ships to check on human colonies. What the Corvan scouts found made them afraid. They flew to New Boston, a human colony with 2 million people. The city was empty but looked normal. Cars sat in driveways. Lights were still on in houses. Food was cooking in restaurants. But no humans walked the streets. The scouts landed and searched the empty city. They found breakfast plates with warm food. They found children's toys on playgrounds. They found computers still running with work half finished on the screens. But they found no people anywhere. Other alien species sent their own ships to investigate. The results were always the same. Humans had simply vanished without any trace. No bodies, no signs of fighting, no messages explaining what happened. 23 billion humans spread across 47 star systems had disappeared in an instant. Kate Williams was supposed to be on Earth that day. She worked as humanity's representative to the Galactic Council. She had planned to fly home, to watch her daughter graduate from school. Instead, she was stuck on Nexus Point, a neutral space station where different alien species met to discuss politics and trade. When the news reached Nexus Point, Kate became the only human anyone could find. Every alien ambassador wanted to talk to her. They all asked the same question: where did the humans go? Kate had no answer. She contacted every human ship and base she could think of. Her communication equipment worked perfectly, but no humans responded to her calls. The silence scared her more than any war or disaster she had faced in her 8 years as an ambassador. Dr. Henry Baker was studying old ruins on a planet called Kepler 442b when it happened. He was an expert on ancient alien civilizations. His team of 12 humans had been digging up artifacts from a race that died out millions of years ago. Henry was alone in his research tent when the vanishing occurred. He looked up from his notes and realized the digging sounds had stopped. He went outside and found the dig site empty. His team's tools lay on the ground where they had been working. Their lunch sat half-eaten on a folding table. But his 12 colleagues were gone. Henry checked the automated recording equipment he used to document their discoveries. The cameras showed something impossible. At exactly 2:32 in the afternoon, every human at the dig site had faded away like smoke. They did not walk away or fall down or disappear in bright light. They just became less solid and then were gone. The recordings showed no energy beams or strange lights. No spaceships had landed. No explosions had occurred. The humans had simply stopped existing. Even their shadows had vanished from the ground. Henry sent a message to anyone who might be listening. He described what the cameras had recorded. His voice shook as he spoke. He had studied the deaths of entire alien civilizations, but he had never seen anything like this. Other aliens began to understand how much they had lost. Humans were more than just another species in the galaxy. They were the ones who made peace between enemies. They were the ones who found solutions when problems seemed impossible to solve. They were the ones who explored dangerous places and made amazing discoveries. Captain Sarah North had been mapping new star systems with her ship called New Horizon. In the past year, she had found 3 planets where life could exist. Her ship now drifted empty near the center of the galaxy. Her crew had been planning to make contact with a primitive alien species before they vanished. The galaxy felt different without humans. Trade slowed down because humans had been the best negotiators. Exploration stopped because humans had been the bravest pioneers. Conflicts between alien species grew worse because humans had always found ways to make enemies become friends. Fear began to spread among the remaining alien civilizations. If humans could vanish so completely and so quickly, what chance did anyone else have against whatever force had taken them? The galaxy suddenly seemed like a much more dangerous place. The rescue fleet approached the galactic center like a river of stars flowing toward the heart of darkness. Captain Ryan Cole stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching as space itself began to twist around them. The massive black hole at the galaxy's center pulled at everything with unimaginable force, but the ancient structure they sought lay just beyond its reach. "All ships report ready for final approach," announced the Thrakari communications officer. The rescue fleet stretched across hundreds of kilometers of space, with vessels from every major civilization flying in perfect formation. The Melodians began their navigation song, a complex harmony that helped guide the fleet through gravitational storms that would have torn apart any single ship. Their music filled the communication channels, giving courage to crews who knew they might not survive the next few hours. "There it is," whispered Dr. Henry Baker, pointing at the main display screen. The ancient structure appeared before them, like a mountain floating in space. It was built from materials that looked like crystal and metal fused together, covered in symbols that no living species could read. Energy patterns danced across its surface like lightning trapped in glass. The structure was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Weapon ports that had been dark for millions of years began glowing with deadly power as the defense systems detected the approaching fleet. Reality warped around the installation, making it difficult to judge distances or directions. "Beginning. First assault wave," announced General Cross of the Thrakari fleet. His warships moved forward in attack formation, their weapons charging for the battle of their lives. The ancient defenses responded with force beyond anything the modern galaxy had seen. Beams of pure energy that could slice through planetary crusts lashed out at the attacking ships. Gravitational weapons twisted space itself into weapons that crushed vessels like insects. Temporal mines exploded in cascades that aged attacking ships into dust within seconds. The first wave of Thrakari vessels took massive casualties, but they succeeded in their mission of drawing defensive fire. While the ancient weapons focused on the obvious military threat, smaller science vessels slipped through the battle zone toward the structure itself. "Now," ordered Captain Ryan Cole, the Altarian science ships launched their most advanced scanning devices directly at the ancient structure. These probes had been specially designed to penetrate dimensional barriers and locate the storage chamber that held the missing humans. Dr. Amy Johnson monitored the scanning results from her position aboard the command vessel. "I am reading the dimensional pocket," she reported excitedly. "The storage chamber is located in the lower section of the structure, behind what appears to be a quantum barrier. But the ancient defense systems were learning and adapting. Weapons that had initially targeted the Thrakari warships began focusing on the more dangerous science vessels. Several Altarian ships disappeared in bursts of twisted space-time as the defenders realized the true nature of the rescue mission. "We need to get closer," Dr. Henry Baker announced. "I can see control interfaces on the structure's surface, but someone needs to physically access them to shut down the dimensional barriers." This was the most dangerous part of the plan. Getting close to the ancient structure meant flying through weapon fire that could destroy any known type of armor or shielding. But without physical access to the controls, they would never be able to extract the stored humans. Commander Alex Reed volunteered for the suicide mission. He had watched his colleagues vanish and spent weeks alone on his empty station, thinking about the friends he had lost. "This is my chance to bring them home," he said as he climbed into a small assault craft designed for maximum speed rather than protection. Alex's ship streaked toward the ancient structure like a meteor, dodging energy beams and gravitational distortions that would have killed him instantly if his luck had been even slightly worse. Behind him flew similar craft piloted by volunteers from a dozen different species, all willing to die for the chance to rescue the humans. Most of the assault craft were destroyed before they reached the structure's surface. But Alex and two others managed to land near what appeared to be a control interface. The alien symbols covering the surface began glowing as they approached, responding to their presence in ways that suggested the ancient builders had expected visitors. "The controls are active," Alex reported over his radio. "Dr. Baker, I am sending you visual data. Can you tell me what to touch?" Henry studied the symbols frantically, comparing them to similar markings he had found in ruins across the galaxy. The ancient civilization that built this structure had left traces of their technology on hundreds of worlds. but their writing system remained largely mysterious. "Try the sequence of symbols that look like spirals," Henry suggested. "In other ruins, those usually represent dimensional boundaries or storage systems." Alex pressed the spiral symbols in the order Henry suggested. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire structure shuddered as massive systems that had operated automatically for millions of years suddenly switched to manual control. "Dimensional. Barriers are fluctuating," reported Dr. Amy Johnson from her scanning station. "I am reading access points opening in the storage chamber." But the ancient structure fought back against the intrusion. Defense systems that had been trying to destroy the rescue fleet suddenly focused all their power on the 3 landing craft that had reached the control interface. Energy beams hot enough to melt steel began converging on Alex's position. "Oh, I'm not going to make it out of here," Alex transmitted calmly. "Dr. Johnson, you need to begin extraction immediately before the defenses kill me and seal the chamber again." Amy began the delicate process of opening quantum tunnels between the storage dimension and normal space. Her calculations had to be perfect, or the dimensional pocket would collapse and crush everyone inside it. The first group of humans materialized on the rescue ships like ghosts becoming solid. They were weak and confused after their time in storage, but they were alive. Jake Sullivan appeared on the bridge of his own ship, gasping as his body remembered how to breathe. Lisa Carter materialized at her communication station, her hands automatically reaching for controls she had been operating when she vanished. "Continue extraction," Amy ordered, even as ancient weapons destroyed Alex's landing craft and sealed the control interface he had died trying to operate. "We have maybe 10 minutes before the defense systems adapt to our quantum tunnels and shut them down permanently." Across the rescue fleet, humans began appearing in groups of 10,000 at a time. Some were barely conscious after their ordeal in the storage dimension. Others seemed more alert but spoke in whispers about strange dreams and visions they had experienced while trapped outside normal reality. Danny Rodriguez materialized on the bridge of his patrol ship, immediately taking command and helping coordinate the rescue of his crew. Captain Sarah North appeared in her exploration vessel, weak but determined to continue her mission of mapping new star systems. "The storage chamber is destabilizing," Nova 7 announced through the fleet communication system. "The ancient mechanism is beginning to consume stored energy at an accelerated rate to power its defenses. We need to extract everyone now, or we will lose them permanently." Dr. Amy Johnson pushed her equipment beyond its design limits, opening multiple quantum tunnels simultaneously, despite the risk of dimensional collapse. Humans poured through the tunnels like water through broken dams, appearing on ships throughout the rescue fleet. But something unexpected was happening. The humans who had spent time in the storage dimension were different. They seemed to understand things about reality that they had never known before. Some could sense the quantum tunnels before they opened. Others instinctively knew how to operate alien technology they had never seen. "The storage process changed us somehow," reported Lieutenant Sam Parker as he materialized on the command vessel. "We were connected to something larger while we were in there. We learned things about the universe that humans were never supposed to know." The ancient structure began to collapse as its power systems overloaded from the massive extraction operation. Millions of years of accumulated energy discharged in spectacular explosions that lit up the galactic center like a new star being born. The rescue fleet pulled back as fast as their engines could carry them, racing to escape the destruction they had triggered. "Final extraction complete," announced Dr. Amy Johnson, as the last group of humans materialized safely aboard the rescue ships. "All 23 billion individuals have been successfully extracted from the storage dimension." The ancient structure died in a cascade of dimensional collapses that sent ripples through space-time itself. The eraser's preservation system, which had operated for millions of years, finally shut down forever. But its destruction had unexpected consequences. Across the galaxy, other species began reporting strange sensations and new abilities. The collapse of the ancient mechanism had released stored knowledge that spread through quantum fields to every intelligent mind within 1,000 light years. Aliens who had never understood human behavior suddenly found themselves thinking in more flexible and creative ways. The storage system was not just preserving humans, realized Dr.